got to get this right. Salute, salute, salute. Peace and power, peace and power. I thank the universal truth and the absolute laws of nature for guiding me, protecting me, and giving me the strength to endure the imperfect. I shall attack with vigor, making progressive moves. A divine mind knows, a divine mind shows. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. All things work in divine order. Peace and power. I was not ready. I done hit this button. As y'all can see, I got something new going on here, and I'm trying to make the proper adjustments. I got a new stand with some new lights, and this thing is like right in my face. It's like y'all right here. Y'all don't need to be right there. I'm not that attractive, so I don't need y'all all up in my face like that. Well, I don't need to be in y'all face like that. That was a bit much. That was a bit much. Salute, knife. That was a bit much. That's right, race first. Exactly. Exactly. Peace and power. This is the Xmass edition. X. That means we are Xing out in a mass. We out of here. We out of here. All right? Exodus, X mass out of an old frame of thinking and into a new state of being. So peace and power. What's going on? Saturday night book club. Salute, salute. Saturday night book club edition. Salute, peace and power. Salute, beast. Early super chat donation. And please, moderators, Ninth, Sierra, as y'all up in the building, as we start to enter, let it be known. Cash apps. Cash apps is the way we going to get through and do what we need to do during this season. Again, all is appreciated. Salute, salute. Beastmaster, salute, salute. C Blaze, salute, salute. What's going on? Ms. Chocolate, what up, though? You tell me what up, though. Still being stingy? It's the holiday season. What's going on with that? Let me know. Apex, salute, salute, salute. 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 What's going on? Everybody, come on up in here. Come on up in here. V Gibb. Salute, salute. Salute. Matt. Peace, peace. What's good? Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what it is. All right? Y'all know what it is. Peace and power. Salute, salute. Yes, it is. That's right. Sissies. Peace and power. Ah, all right, MC Cooper, you and your son. Peace. I hope everybody's coming through safe and sound. Salute, salute. Peace and power. Peace and power. Oh, it's been a very trying couple of days. Very trying couple of days. I will tell y'all that. I will tell you that. And people are dealing with a lot of displacement, a lot of anger issues, a lot of other issues that's going on. But we're going to get through it. We're going to work through it. You know, one thing that I've noticed about this energy, as many of us are in a space of awareness of a new way of being, there's a lot of grieving that is going on when we're pushing all that old energy out. You get a little pocket. Peace, peace, Almighty. Peace, peace. You get a pocket of emptiness. And in that emptiness, some people become very, very confused, right? They don't know what to feel because everything else around them And this is what many of us has asked for. As I've seen just early in the chat, uh, uh, one of our comrades spoke of Garveyism, right? And we do know uh, how great the Garveyites were, but in that little pocket, when you have finally found individuals, you have finally found your tribe, and they are awake and they're awakened, there's going to be great sadness and grief from those who are still, right, still very much engaged and very much holding on to that old concept of thinking and participating in those rituals. And they are very bitter, um, very angry. Um, some have slight depression. And those moves and those moods are going to clash, right? As you have people who are awakened and they are very jubilant about this new awakening, right? You see through the lies. Peace, Lampkin. What up out there? All right. You have people who are very, very, very enlightened. They're energized. They see the lies, right? The little lies that we were taught, the fables, the fairy tales of Santa Claus coming down the chimney and going to every house in the whole entire world, right? We know now that if it was a Santa, his ass would have lung cancer, going in and out of all them chimneys and shit with all that soot backed up in his goddamn lung, right? We know that, right? We know and understand that that was false, right? But again, the conditioning, right, and the space where they need to have your mentality in order to continuously to blindly participate in that indoctrination is mean. So now that you have a mass majority of the population not celebrating, not engaged in that, you're going to have so many others uh, feeling a ways about it. So in your jubilation, because something has been taken away from that other individual, from those other groups, what do you give them in return? What must be replaced in order for you to have a sort of harmonious state of being, right? I know, like I said, for me growing up in Islam, I never had no feelings for this time of year. Matter of fact, this time of year for me has always been very, 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 very triggering. I still get triggered, because that's when all the fakeness come out. People calling whoever and called all year, and oh, I just want to check, and hey, how you doing, and the fake joyousness and all that triggers me. I don't like it. I just don't. Something that I'm not pleased with when this time of year comes around. I also know again that not only do you have more people here that don't celebrate it, right? You have the Jewish community, you have the Hasidic Jewish community, you have a lot of people from you know India, Pakistan don't celebrate it. Of course, you have all of the Islamic countries that don't. You just don't. They just don't do it. So now that there is more of them here, it should be less and less of uh, purposeful, right? Um, Continuance of these stories, these TV shows, these traditions, right? But they seem to intensify it now more so than ever, because they know that not only are we dealing with that and the economy that is not prepared for this time of year, specifically in the last 2 years, right? They have to deal with this very real, you know, thing that has been in the air, and people now are, becoming ill, right? All over again. So, it just, I want people to not be conceited, right? Or not be egotistical in their I told you so stance. That is not something that we do, right? Use humility throughout this time, right? Throughout this, what they want to call a holiday season. Be humble, use humility, and you will win more allies than if you were to point fingers, than if you were to, kind of forcibly, spit your doctrine at individuals, because again, once something has been part of your being for so long and is ripped away, either forcibly ripped away physically or mentally and culturally and spiritually ripped away, they're a big part of them that they're losing. And you have to respect that. You as a person who is woke and conscious, you have to respect and understand that. Okay, because this is where we're getting the increase in suicide and self-harm, the increase in confrontation, all or nothing, I'm a whole court in the streets attitude. This is what comes from, right, the increase in the domestic violence, the severe violence against the women and children. This is from the increase in mental instability and people, right, not wanting to have to handle that. That's a tough loss. That's a tough loss. This is why it seems that people continuously just, go along. Because, again, when you have been conditioned to do so, you also have to be conditioned to step out of it. Right? So that's what we dealing with here when you see it. Because some of the behaviors that I witness on a daily basis, and all throughout, not only my community but the city. Period. People are very rude into themselves, and if you look at them, you can see it. You can see the mental imbalances on their face, in their energy. You can see it, and how they move about. And you can either confront it head on and you deal with the consequences of whatever outcome, or you can be the smarter individual and go around it, not allow it to trigger you, you know? And I'm talking about see it all day, all the time. Once I'm not here, once I'm not in my dwelling. Once you're in your dwelling, I mean, you can basically, do what you want to do. But once you leave and you outside, whole different ball game, entirely different ball game. And at that point, you're not living, you're not moving by your rules. Yeah, it's Gotham City outside. Definitely, Andy. No, it's not a game. It's not a game. And no area is exempt from it. Salute, Kenny Mac. Salute. All right. Dollar. What up, Dollar? Voodoo Glinch was good. Was good. Derek. What up? What up? What up? See Angel. Peace. 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 I see Maud. My girl V. All right. Moderators, y'all come in. And I'm in Ra. CC. Boom. CC said, I can't. CC said, I feel you. I can't wait till this couple of weeks is over. I just made a conscious year. Ah, hold up. You said a conscious year? Huh? To spread love to all. Okay. Yeah, you have to. You have to. Because when I'm telling you, it's a lot. It's a lot. How do you feel about the young man? Listen, I don't know nothing about him. I don't know anything about his music, Andy. Right? And I don't want to get too heavy into that build. Right? As far as him doing what he did, because it would take away from book club tonight. But what I will say is, this is something that I've been speaking on for the longest, man. For I'm telling you, at least the last decade that I've been on social media, that the behavior that we are witnessing from our youth, especially in the hip hop culture, is one that we all have to be responsible for, because this is our culture, and if we don't facilitate them as they're trying to articulate the message, you won't keep getting it, right? This drill music, right? What this all or nothing, this you only live once type of attitude from individuals who are that young, right? Now, again, I said it before, there's no reason for his conditions to the degree of where he can earn an income from this music should still be in that frame of mind where you just coming out and you just airing somebody out. What part of the game is that? What kind of beef is that? What kind of beef? I'm serious. That's a lack of understanding of our youth. Ray Cole, salute, salute, salute. Mr. Karim, what's up? Mr. Kill, what's up? You understand? Greg, it's it's disheartening. It's very disheartening. It just is, man. I mean, somebody got shot 600 feet away from me about 2 hours ago. And 4 people were shot early this morning in Prospect, in Lafayette Gardens. I mean, it's continuous because, again, the culture can only move to the beat of what's going on in our communities, right? Culture is supposed to imitate and articulate life. Now we have life, right? Imitating and articulating what the culture is. So it's backwards. And if it's backwards, peace, there's salute, salute. And if it's backwards like that, that's the only outcome you can get. So now he's living out not only his lyrics, but lyrics of those who were on before him. So you get it. If he's 18, 5 years ago, right? He was only 13. And 5 years ago, what was hot? Takashi, Smurda, and a matter of fact, that was almost 8 years ago. So he's coming from that. He's not coming from they eons away from what we talking about, fight the power, Nation Guards and Herbs, UNITY. They light years from that. So if you 18, that was your influence. You understand? That was his influence. The Tekashis, the Bobby Smurters, the other youth, right? The Troy Ave era, right? That era was his bigger influence in NYC. So at 18, who helped facilitate his ideas? Who was in his home? We have no idea, right? That man he murdered allegedly was his ops. Gang. Yeah, well, I don't know. Who's a bigger op than somebody that destroyed your belief in the quality of your air? The quality of our air. They literally have us scared to death to breathe. So the quality of our air is questionable. Who's a bigger op than that? But when you explain that to somebody who's 17 and they are in a space where they don't know themselves at all, don't understand knowledge, wisdom, understanding, and how knowledge, wisdom, and understanding relates to inhale and exhale, the ability to know, to breathe, to intake, to be. That's the born to be. Don't even understand that, but are in conditions and are around peer groups who believe that they can see somebody of their own image as an op. Based on what? And then you allow them to sit in a culture and gain some money from it. You understand? So, I don't, I said this 2 nights ago. I said there was going to be at least 4 more quote unquote rappers killed before the new year come in, and 2 New Year's Eve. That's just how I call it. That's what I see it. And one of them going to be another major. That's just how I see it. Because again, the energy is going to continue. The energy is going to transfer over because the shift in our mentality is here. It's very small because people are still struggling. I still see people upset because they couldn't get a gift. I still see people upset because they couldn't travel somewhere. I still see people upset because they aren't able to engage in a group party or group settings over something that has been based on a universal lie. And when you still struggle with that, right? I was just asked on one of the social media apps, right? Or the question was asked, if you are of the 5%, if you are someone who is woke, have knowledge of self, how do you respond when an 85, when a Bill Power says to you, Merry Christmas? How do you respond? And simple way to respond is, thank you. Because you should be beyond being triggered by someone you know their belief system. You understand? We are beyond that. We are beyond that, But again, our battles, we have to be very more strategic with how we are moving. Or else again, you can risk allowing these people to disturb your essence to the degree of where which you won't be able to perform your duties. Now, how smart is that? How smart is that? All right? So, let's get into it. Let's get into it. Welcome. When we left last week, we left with the tape recording that our comrade Queen Asada has sent out, the message to the people through her attorney and her aunt Evelyn, who again didn't want her to make that statement, but it was the first statement that any of us would get to hear from Asada. So again, we're in a good space. Now we know where she is, and from this point on, it's going to get very, 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 very interesting. So she named some of her comrades enclosing the letter, and I think we will. I think I'll start there, right? So she said, in the spirit of Ronald Carter, William Christmas, Mark Clark, Mark Essex, Frank Heavy Fields, Woody Changa, Olugbala Green, Fred Hampton, Little Bobby Hutton, George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, James McLean, Harold Russell, and Zod Malik Shakur, Anthony Kumulu, Olubala White. All right? And that's how she closed. We must fight on. And just like we was just saying a minute ago with our youth, know that Lil Bobby Hutton was 16 when he was murdered by the police. Jonathan Jackson was 16 going on 17 when he was murdered by sheriff's deputies and correctional officers during a failed attempt to release some of our comrades who were locked up. Our youth today, many of them don't even understand that concept because they have been conditioned to believe that they should yearn to feel or yearn to find out what it feels like to be in a prison. Like that's supposed to be their badge of honor, their coming of age. Peace, Kelly. LG, what up? All right, so that answers your question. Most of them just feel like they supposed to go there. Most of them just feel as if they're supposed to be there in order to validate themselves. All right? Like that's a rites of passage. Because that's where we've been for the last 30 years. The glorification of criminal activity. And now the continued glorification of it with TV shows like, BMF, Power, Empire, all these counterproductive media projects, program, whatever you want to call it, that has been consistent with our young people. And it's going to continue unless we have more of an influence over our children than that. You understand? And we have to give them the opportunity to speak and be heard. And I mean that sincerely. I always repeat it. When you become a certain age, the youth must take over. The youth has to be the one to drive us as a nation into the next generations. If you continue to allow old ideas, old way of doing things, old policy and principles, and old non-thinking individuals in a space of leadership, you're gonna fail. You're gonna fail. Just like you take them off the road when they too old to drive, they ass definitely need to be taken out of political positioning and power. Get your ass out of here. So when it comes to us who are up under that and have been conditioned to even think of old ways to wiggle up out of it, we're going to lose. We need our youth, and we have to let them lead, and we have to facilitate their ideas and show them the errors truthfully. Truthfully. So we got to speak to them. All right? So let's go. The workhouse had a whole heap of rules, most of them stupid. No newspapers or magazines were permitted. When I asked why we couldn't read newspapers, they told me that newspapers were inflammatory. Obviously, if a person read in the paper that his or her sister had been raped, he would wait until the rapist came to jail and then do him bodily harm. But, I protested, the other inmates watched television and listened to the radio. I wasn't allowed either. They could receive the same information that way or from a visit from home. In that case, the warden told me, won't let you read newspapers because they are a fire hazard. One of the saddest rules prohibited children from visiting their mothers in jail. I could see the children waiting outside, looking up at that ugly old building with sad, frustrated faces. Their mothers would run to the only window that faced the parking lot just to get a glimpse of their children. Yelling out of the window was a no-no, but once in a while somebody would get carried away. Sometimes their frantic screams went unheard. Gradually, I began to know the women. They were all very kind to me and treated me like a sister. They laughed like hell when I told them that I was supposedly being protected from them. Those first days, before I had really learned to maneuver with one hand, they did whatever they could to make things easier for me. They volunteered to iron my uniforms and sneak them into the laundry to be washed more than once a week. When they told me their charges and the time they were doing, I couldn't believe it. Quite a few of them were doing time for the numbers, either 6 months or a year. In New York, doing time for number running was practically unheard of, and it certainly didn't get 6 months or a year. Everybody in the world knows that the numbers business keeps the cops fat. These women hadn't hurt anybody or stolen anything, yet they were sitting in jail, probably busted by the same cops that they paid off. Their only crime was competing with the state lottery. Most of them had already been sentenced. If the sentence was less than a year, time was served in the county jail rather than in the state penitentiary. If I had expected to find so-called hardened criminals, disappointed. The rest of the women who weren't doing time for the numbers were in for some form of petty theft, like shoplifting or passing bad checks. Most of those sisters were on welfare, and all of them had been barely able to make ends meet. The courts had shown them no mercy. They brought in this sister shortly after I arrived, who was 8 months pregnant and had been sentenced to a month for shoplifting, something that cost less than $20. Later, a middle-aged sister began coming to the workhouse on weekends. She worked during the week and served her 6-month sentence for drunken driving on weekends. Knowing that white women with the same charges would never have received such a sentence, I thought it was harsh, but I didn't realize how harsh until she had told me that she had been arrested for drunken driving in the driveway of her own house. She hadn't even been on a public road. She told me that the cops had arrested her because they didn't like the way she talked to them. All right? In that jail, it was nothing to see a woman brought in all beat up. In some cases, the only charge was resisting arrest. A Puerto Rican sister was brought in one night. She had been so badly beaten by the police that the matron on duty didn't want to admit her. "I don't want her dying on my shift," she kept saying. It was days before the sister was able to get out of bed. In spite of it all, those sisters kept the place jumping. They told all kinds of funny stories about their lives, things they had seen and experienced. Some had a natural knack for comedy. What amazed me was the way they told the saddest stories in the world and made everybody laugh about them. "Girl, that nigga was always in my pocketbook stealing my money. And all he did with it was blow it at the racetracks. Girl, that man spent so much money on the racetracks, he made me wish I was a horse. One day I fixed his ass, though. I was sick and tired of his mess. Betcha he won't go in nobody's pocketbook no time soon. I put a mousetrap in that sucker. Girl, you should have heard that nigga howl." Another one. "My husband and me, we used to fight like cats and dogs, and he was jealous as the day is long. Child, we went to the bar this night, and this nigga got all high and started thinking I was messing around with some dude at the bar. As soon as we got outside, boy, he jumped on me like a gorilla jumps on a banana. Don't you know that man hit me so hard he knocked my teeth straight out of my mouth? Now hold on a minute," I told that fool. "We can fight later. I ain't got no more $400 to spend on no false teeth." Child, we was drunk as skunks, down on our knees for about an hour looking for those teeth. And when that fool found them, he said the teeth jumped up and tried to bite him. Lord, child, that man is a fool. So you see, right, that even in the worst conditions, people find ways to make light of their conditions, right? And this experience, it's interesting how the same things women talk about, they were talking about back then, shows nothing changed. And nothing has changed when it comes to domestic violence, right? When it comes to, you know, mistreatment of our sisters. But as you can see, at this point, they don't even know who they're speaking to. They have no idea, which is what I explain to you all the time. No one knows that you are conscious. No one knows that you are woke. No one knows that you are aware of yourself until you open your mouth or you show by your actions. And again, our numbers are so small that if our tribe is spread out all over, right, this space here, all over the country, all in different parts of the city, our work has to be tenfold. We have to work that much harder because there's a whole mass, of people who don't have a clue of what we discuss, of what we plan, of what we strategize. Don't have a clue and could care less because they're living in their very dire conditions and believe that they are alone in that. Never, ever, ever ceases to amaze me that every group that I began, every new cycle, when I was doing work at the nonprofit, I could have 30 in a new class. And 2 days later, start a new class with another 25 or 30. And all those men would believe that they were going through what they were going through by themselves until the group started and we got into week 2 and week 3 and week 4. And they would all find out that they were basically going through the same thing. And then they began to gel. And then the class began to grow. And then you can speak and find out that you definitely had more similarities than differences. They did. You just do. And it takes you sometimes being humbled by life, right? Being humbled by life and being put in a specific setting for you to get your shit together. So how many of us, if we're all here, we're all in this country, how many of us are going through the exact same pressures, but are able to deal with it at different levels? How many? But when we believe that they're different, or when they believe that they're different, it's very difficult to connect. If they don't believe they are oppressed, if they don't believe that they're taken advantage of, then they won't be able to identify with your struggle. That's what separates us. The belief. So I don't care what you do. You can protest. You can do all type of things. If you don't get to the mind, if your actions, if your words don't trigger the mind to connect, you're at a lost cause. You're at a lost cause. And some would have you believe, again, that it is not our responsibility to awaken the deaf, dumb, and blind, but it is our duty. And we can never shirk that. It is our duty Now, what isn't your duty, what isn't your duty is to allow the non conscious to pull you down. That's not your duty. And it is not your duty to overplay your hand in the course of you awakening them. Mm-mm. There's a time and a space for everything. But you have to acknowledge that. You have to acknowledge that. So we are definitely way more similar to each other than we are different. Especially when I'm saying we all suffer the conditions. We all suffer the unfair conditions. All of us. All of us. The taxes, the miseducation, the poor health care, the lies, right? Consumer beware and all that type of stupid, idiotic shit that you only are going to experience under what we're living in now. All right? I could listen to these stories only when the outside door was open. During the day, they had a female sheriff's officer posted outside my cell. When she was there, the door usually stayed open. The whole time I was at that jail, I saw very few white women. The few who did come were there only for a few hours or a day or so before they were bailed out. There was one white woman who was busted on a turnpike with 50 pounds of reefer. Everyone waited to see what her bail would be. Then we found out she had been released on her own recognizance. That is, without bond. To be released on recognizance in the state of New Jersey, one of the requirements is Jersey residence. This woman lived in Vermont, but nobody was really shocked she was white. I was going crazy in that little cell. The only time they let me out was for visits and to see the so-called doctor. I've always been an active and restless person, and being locked up in that little cage all day drove me wild. I needed to stretch my legs. I started to run around the cell. I would run in this tiny cell until I was exhausted. 2 or 3 days after I started, the warden, Miss Bitch, accompanied by some male guards, visited me. We hear that you are running around your cell, she said. You will have to stop this activity at once. What? Why? Because you are disturbing the people downstairs. What people? There is an office underneath you and you are disturbing the workers. Are you crazy? They just have to be disturbed. I don't run for that long anyhow. If you let me go out to the yard to exercise with the other woman, I'll stop running around my cell. I order you to stop running around your room. I don't remember joining your army, I say. When I join your army, then you can order me around. She left in a huff, and I kept running. That was the end of that. I have to thank her, though. If she'd come, if she hadn't come and harassed me, I would have probably given up running around that tiny space in a few days. So you see, and that's just a little tiny glimpse of what happens when you get confined to a small space. And I don't want anybody to ever believe that that is easy. It is not. It is not. It's not natural. Um, it's a slow death. It really is. The conditions, I don't care if it's a county jail. I don't care if it's state penitentiary. I don't care if it's a correctional facility. All of the conditions there. Um, Everything is there to chip away at your soul. Yeah, it's humane. It's humane. It's very inhumane. Oh, it's a slow death. Trust and believe. It's a slow death. That's what it's designed to do. That's what it's designed to do. We talk about sensory deprivation. Uh, we talking about taste. Uh, we talking about lack of um, companionship. No sex will kill you. No sex with the opposite sex, with your natural sex partner, will kill you. Scientific fact. You lock up some animals. You see it, and don't give them their natural partner. They will die. You think we any different? And you believe we any different from that? Don't you believe that? If that was the case, why is that the main condition of punishment? Right? Why? No, they just did that. They did. That's just. It just so happens that. It just so happens that, right? That there's, that they limit your visits. They limit physical contact, and anytime you in there, your punishment is less and less physical contact. When you go to solitary confinement on the box, it's less contact. People, we are social beings. You believe that, Sega? Okay. Who is your God? You don't need nobody? Okay. Okay. It's very slick. Very slick to say. Don't need anybody. Bounce. Get off social media. Get you a red cup. Hit the street. Since you don't need anybody. That's it. You don't have to be around anybody at all. At all. You know? At all. I mean, it's slick to say, you know? But yeah, he out of here. I don't have time for foolishness. And dig, it's okay for my black friends to say the N-word when they talk. But I feel left out when I say it. I don't think nobody should say it. That's just me. It happens and it happens. But, It's just me. I rarely use it. Rarely. If I use it, I'm usually triggered to a certain degree. I don't see any power in it. Right? I don't. Others do. You dig? Why use it though? That's my question. I don't know. It is what it is. Like I said, people are, they're gonna come through and try to distract, but we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. All right? Sunshine L, salute, salute. All right? Let's continue. The food in the workhouse was horrible. Actually, it was disgusting. The food there is worse than the food in any jail that I have been in since. And that is quite an accomplishment. I would sit and wait for lunch or dinner, hungry as hell, and they would bring me some greenish brown iridescent chunks floating around in a watery liquid. Liver stew, they called it, or some lamb fat floating around in some water, which was supposed to be lamb stew. And that nasty looking, foul smelling stuff tasted much worse than it looked. The place was infested with flies, and so was the food. The only thing edible was eggs, when they had them, and mashed potatoes. I lived off the nuts and candy I bought from the commissary and the fruit my family bought on visits. Oh my goodness. Oh, listen. Yeah. You have to understand the conditions when one is deemed to have broken the law. Excuse me. It is again some of us, and it's more disheartening for me to acknowledge it, that some of us were just conditioned to go through that. Like there was no reason that I was able to sit in that space and really not have a fear or concern about it. Um, and that's something that I, need every parent to take heed to, that we have to educate and speak to our children more. They should never be in a pocket where they accept this treatment. You understand what I'm saying? And when I look back and go over the spaces in my life, I'm trying to understand how I was not fearful of being arrested, not fearful of going through the system, not fearful of being locked up, not fearful of touching Rikers Island or facing the judge's gavel. Um, that's weird for me. That's weird for me that the living conditions in my area, right, in Brooklyn, um, gave me enough ignorance and stupidity not to fear that I was built for it. That is very weird. And I don't take pride in that. Not at all. I've seen people come through and in 2 weeks try to take their own life. No bullshit. They just couldn't take it. And it wasn't even that harsh of a condition, right? And didn't care. Just was so angry, was so rebellious, and had this much intelligence enough um, to believe it was something I should just just kind of shrug off like fuck it. And even going through the first time, still didn't deter me from doing things in the street. That is what we're up against. That is what we're up against. We're up against people. We're up against policies. We're up against lifestyles that have our promising youth, that have our future leaders, that our next generation has that much lack of concern for their lives that they welcome it, challenging it at that level. It's crazy. Here we know why Sada is in there. We know that she was in there because she was fighting the very conditions, fighting the institutions, fighting the people. But when you're not doing that, being a criminal or engaged in lifestyles where you can get placed in jail, that shit is absurd. And I was built for it. When I tell you I had no fear of it, none. And listen to the stories of the old dudes coming through, the hard rocks, the older guards, going to the Spofford, going to Rikers Island, coming home, seeing them, right? And they wear it like it was nothing. And it would seem like an eon to me, like they would get locked up and then for a year you wouldn't see them. Just a year seemed like an eon, right? And they come home and they have on their BVDs, the matching BVD drawers with the BVD, the tank top or the short sleeve, and and everybody, oh, yo, he just came out, and being all of it. Not fearful of it. Should have been terrified of that. Like jail, like, no. Built for it. Built for it. That has to make you wonder. And now, we don't only have individuals who are feeding it. Our children have a culture with a vibration that hits them in their soul, that gears them in that direction. And then we have these individuals who have done it, who have been in there, who felt the horrors, come and promote it. What are we doing? What are we doing? Any minute that you in there could be your last. Any minute. Any minute. So to even contemplate, oh, I could do 8 years, I could do 10, I could do 12. That's a sickness. Something is wrong with you. Something is wrong with you. It's a sickness. And we know Sandra Bland ain't even make it. We've seen our people killed. Police contact. They ain't even make it into a pair of cuffs. Dante Wright, Eric Garner, Sean Bell. List goes on and on and on and on. Oscar Grant. On and on and on and on. He didn't even make it to a pair of cuffs. Downed in the street, in the gutter, murdered. Understand that. So how can you willingly give yourself up? Just willingly here because you want to sell drugs, or you want to rob cars, because you want to sell pussy, because you want to do all these things that are beneath you. How? Make that make sense. I'm telling you, in your first hour, you can lose your life behind them walls. Simple as that. Lose your entire life behind them walls. You understand? So these conditions that she speak of, that's just what it is. You know? Let's finish. Every single day for one whole week, they bought us in this nasty stuff that was supposed to be ravioli. Well, that was the last straw. We all decided to go on a food strike. I wrote a petition which everybody signed, and we sent it down to the warden's office. Later, the warden agreed to discuss making the food more edible, but he refused to talk to me. He said the fact that I had referred to the food as slop showed I was unreasonable. The food was better for a few days, and then it reverted to the same old nasty slop. The woman sheriff's officer who guarded me had to be the oldest dumb blonde alive. She played the part to a bust. She was nosy and was the world's biggest gossip. Every time she saw me, she smiled and pretended to be oh so friendly. One day, some workmen were drilling a big hole in the wall to install new electrical circuits. Of course, as soon as she came in, the nosy sheriff's officer began her questions. What are they building? Well, they passed a special law and they're going to execute me. They're building the gas chamber now. Well, she said indignantly, well, nobody told me about it, and she rushed off to find out why no one had informed her. The lights were turned off every night at 10. I was lucky because there was a night switch that I controlled in the bathroom adjacent to my cell. I would move the cot so that I was in as much light as possible, and I would read way into the night. When I tired of reading, I'd turn off the light and look out the window. Outside, police patrolled the area. A lot of times, there were two police on foot who seemed to be standing around near the parking lot. One night, in my usual condition of boredom, while standing at the window and feeling mischievous, I cried out a bird-like sound in the shrillest voice I could muster. The pigs started looking around like crazy. They jerked this way and that way as if they thought someone was behind them. Again, I cried. This time, they really jumped around. You would have thought it was World War II and the Japanese were 2 feet away. I waited a while. When they can't calm down, in a voice even shrillier than before, I cried, Naeem! They pointed their guns and actually walked backward prepared to fire on anything moving. Then, quite by accident, my metal cup fell to the floor. Well, in a second, they were down on the ground, crawling, holding their rifles. When I saw these fools crawling around on the ground like that, I just couldn't take it anymore. I laughed until I was sick. Great, big, bad police crawling around, scared of their own shadows. Every once in a while, I tried it again with different police, and usually the results were similar, but it was never as good as that first night. See? See? Crazy. That, and again, she's not even contemplating what her charges are. She's just, making the best out of her conditions. You dig? Making the best. Salute, salute, Colin. Thank you, thank you. So, it's crazy, she talking about the light, real quick story. Rikers Island is disgusting. And every building is more dirty or disgusting than the next, especially the older. The older the building, the more it is dirty, filthy, and pest infested. So I hate pests. I don't like water bugs, mice, roaches, none of that shit. So wherever I was, I made sure I had my little situation spotless. But one thing that I definitely demanded was that my light never went out. Ever. Ever. I was in C95 when I came down for my appeal. I was in C95 for 2 years on that appeal. The first department, New York County, first department, had to give me a new trial. And, when we came back down from upstate, that was the only spot that could house us. So, C95 was old and dirty. I'm sitting there, and I'm coming from up north. So up north is spotless, clean up north. I've not been to a dirty spot up north that I can recall. Up north is definitely different, I'm there, and Viva Africa, salute. And it was a rule that my lights never was to be shut off. And in that old building, the police, the COs would control the lights. And in any unit where I was in, for a significant amount of time, steady officers would, my shit don't get cut off. I even got to a point where I was in one housing unit for over a year, and it was tape on the light switch that controlled the lights to my cell. So even if it was a different officer coming on, they wouldn't touch it, And I mean, they would look, because lights out after a certain time, and you could see just that one cell light is still on. Well, what is that? Never, ever. And if the light went off, I was immediately up. I became accustomed to, sleeping with my lights on. Because you understand, at any given time on Rikers Island, any given time, they run up in there and search. So I was always always on point. So I didn't play that lights off shit. And that stuck with me to wherever I was. Wherever I was. Whether it's on the island, whether it's different housing units, whether it was different buildings, whether it was upstate, my lights don't go off. Period. And that was just a known fact. And if you had a hard ass that, tried to, be hard on it and you was gonna cause a riot for that one simple thing. Other than that, I don't bother anyone. I just don't. But I'll turn it up, if you confront me on something that simple. Okay, so when she talking that light thing, you understand? I understand. I understand. Don't turn off my light. Don't turn it off. It's the only way I can see everything. It's the only way I can feel everything. Ha, Comrade Rogers, salute, salute, salute. You did. So we're gonna continue. Because I had a broken clavicle, I had to wear a figure-8 brace around my shoulder. It was made of foam and cotton with a tiny belt buckle fastener in the back, about a half-inch wide. One morning, as I was eating, the guard came in my cell and took it. You can't have this. Why? Because it contains metal, she replied. You can't have anything with metal on it. Now, there I was, sitting on a metal cot, drinking out of a metal cup, eating out of a metal bowl, and this policewoman was standing in my face telling me I couldn't have my brace because of this tiny metal buckle. I raised all the hell I could, but I saw that she was, like she said, like they all say, only following orders. If the prison doctor says you need it, you can have it back. As soon as Dr. Miller came into the workhouse, I asked to see him. Without the brace, my shoulder felt weak and fragile. I could barely hold myself up straight. Don't worry about that old brace, Herr Doctor told me. You don't need that thing anyway. It was all I could do not to kick him in his groin. Luckily, later that week, the bone specialist came out from the hospital to see me. It was a very good doctor and a very kind man. He told the warden in no uncertain terms that I needed my brace, and without it, I could be disfigured. He gave me a lot of encouragement for my hand so that I can regain full use of it. Finally, they returned the brace. It was about that time that the miracles started. I was sure now that my hand was coming back to life. I was beginning to be able to tell it to do things and it would automatically respond. Each little bit of progress was a miracle. Being able to touch my pinky with my thumb, to pick up a cup, to hold a pencil, to pinch myself were feats that took days of practice and exercise to accomplish. And then the day came when I knew I was almost there. After months of trying, I could finally snap my fingers. Whenever anyone came to see me, I would show them my new talents. I felt like a little kid saying, "Look, mommy, see what I can do?" So you know that shot, right? That shot almost blew her damn arm off. You understand? Almost blew her arm off. So what are we doing? What are we saying when we're talking about working with these people and they give you that bullshit? Working, right, across party lines, coming to build, right, bridges, coming to work collectively. With who? For what? For what? Almost blew her damn arm off. Just found joy in snapping her fingers. Know what you up against. Know what you up against. Stop expecting anything different. Again, welcome the struggle. It is going to be a struggle. Welcome the struggle. We have to. That's common sense. Common sense. Anything we do pertaining to this work is going to be a struggle. So, are you prepared? Are we prepared? Are we prepared? Do we have infrastructures in place? And I don't mean physical infrastructures. I mean mental infrastructures. People who are solid in thought. Do we have safe houses? Do we have lawyers? Do we have vehicles? Do we have healthcare practitioners? Do we have the very basics that are needed? Do we? Or will we be viewed as common criminals? Do we have spaces just here on social media, just here, of people who know what we are about? Or we're in the space now where everybody wants to be a leader, where everybody has an opinion, but never want to be held accountable for any actions? Understand what we have to do. I don't know what's going on. Serious. But you know what we do. We are here to build. We're here to contemplate. We're here to, you know, acknowledge that we're not prepared and get prepared. You understand? Finally, a joint conference was arranged between Sundiata and me, with Evelyn present. It took place at the workhouse. Sundiata was brought from the New Brunswick jail. I've never been happier to see anyone in my life. It was difficult to talk because the guards were practically sitting in our laps. I can't whisper for nothing, and Evelyn kept telling me to lower my voice. We talked about the case and decided that it was politically correct to be tried together. Just seeing Sundiata cooled me right out. I was feeling bad, and I was real self-conscious about how I looked. I had broken out in a horrible rash from the prison soap, and I looked like a lopsided scarecrow with bumps. There was something about Sundiata that exudes calm. From every part of his being, you can sense the presence of revolutionary spirit and fervor, and his love for black people is so intense that you can almost touch it and hold it in your hand. There's nothing put on about him. He is a real folksy kind of person. Every time I see him, he looks like he belongs on a porch somewhere down south, breathing in the summer air and bouncing babies off his knee. The truth of the matter is that Sundiata is country. He would deny it to the bitter end, but he is sure enough country. And when he laughs, that giggle laugh of his, it's like a trip to Texas in the backwoods. When the conference ended, I was a different person. I felt much stronger, and I didn't feel alone. I don't know when, but somewhere along the way, I started to collect the metal cups we were given to drink from. At first, I think it was just my slow way of drinking that caused the cups to accumulate. I was none too popular with the guards, especially the men. Most of them hadn't said boo to me and vice versa, but they hated my guts. To them, I was a cop killer and they were cops. Something told me to be real careful. They had given me a little table to to eat and write on. And at night, before I went to sleep, I pushed the table up next to the bars and stacked the cups precariously on top of it. The bars opened into the cell, and the slightest movement would send a whole stack of cups clanging to the floor. I would push the wooden bench behind the table. In that way, anyone who tried to come in would have to apply some real pressure. I went through this routine every night, feeling slightly foolish but compelled. One night, in the middle of the night, the cups came crashing down. I immediately awoke to find 4 or 5 male guards standing in the doorway of my cell. I screamed, "What do you want? What are you doing in my cell?" loud enough for someone to hear me. The guards stood in the doorway like they didn't know what to do. Finally, one of them locked the door and said, "We heard a noise and we came to investigate. We were just checking it out." They weren't even supposed to be in the women's section. The female guard on duty that night, the slimiest one in the prison, was nowhere in sight. After that, no matter what jail I was in, I always found some way to barricade my cell. In prisons, it is not at all uncommon to find a prisoner hanged or burned to death in his cell. No matter how suspicious the circumstances, these deaths are always ruled suicides. They usually, they are usually black inmates considered to be a threat to the orderly, right, running of the prison. They're usually among the most politically aware and socially conscious inmates in the prison. You dig? And even to this day, certain things are commonplace, you know? Certain things are commonplace. It's, and I did the same thing. I did the same thing over and over again. No matter where I was, there's always certain things. Like I said, even with my light, there's always a way for you to either lay or sit that even in the smallest of spaces, even in the smallest of cells, that you see or hear somebody coming in. um, I had a habit of sprinkling baby powder all over the cell whenever I was leaving out. So I would know upon entering if somebody was in there while I was gone. Nobody would see it. They don't know, but I know. I would see a print or something because, state COs are good for, getting you up out of there or sending you to the box if you was very politically active. And I was very politically active. They'll find ways to throw drugs or weapon in your cell, stuff like that. Um, so, I was always on point, always. And I feel that, it's just for her not going back and forth through prison, on a regular basis. And her just coming into her own with different ways to protect herself. Salute to her. Salute to her. And even in reading that and experiencing it on my own, and then in society, right, people will call you institutionalized for doing certain things. Well, we are all institutionalized. When you live in oppressive conditions, when you live in a capitalistic society, you follow institutions. You follow the laws. You follow the rules. You follow the codes. You pay the union dues. You pay the fees. You are institutionalized. You are very much institutionalized. Just in the celebration or not of this holiday. You are institutionalized. Many people don't believe it. Never believed in Saint Nick and Santa Claus or Rudolph. But you participate in it. You don't believe in it, but you participate in it. That's institutionalized. So when, I think of protecting my home and protecting my family, by arming myself in a certain way, yeah. It just didn't come from the institutionalizing or institutionalization of the penal colony, of the prison industrial complex. It's coming from living under the institutions of racial bias, underemployment, inequitable education, right? And severe police brutality by the states. Simple as that. So you need to protect yourself. You need to protect yourself. So, again, this is enjoyable, but it's also deep. It's very deep. It's very deep, And we are learning a lot. We are learning a lot. I hope you're learning a lot, and I hope you're enjoying it. Saturday Night Book Club is where it's at. And I appreciate everybody for joining and engaging with me. Salute E. It is definitely a good space for all of us to, fall back and just ponder. And in the coming year, in the coming Roman year, let's set goals. Let's set goals for ourselves, not for our particular selves, but for those who are going to come after us. Those who are here, who need our nurturing, who need to know the mistakes and the pitfalls that are out there. Let's set these goals so we don't have to keep relying on the 60s, the 70s. Can't keep relying. We can't keep using that as a point of reference of when people were solid and meant something. We can't keep going backwards to that. You understand? If that is going to be our only point of reference, that says a lot about where we're at. It says a lot about where we're at. You dig? Again, it's late, but it's early. You know? It's late, but it's early. So I'm going to close this here. Go on over to Instagram. Shake shit up for a little bit over there. You know. Oh, that's right. They deaded me on that. Right. I can't go live on Instagram yet. Oh, this is some bullshit. How many of y'all got Clubhouse? I might go over there. How many of y'all got Clubhouse? No, Ninth, I'm not on IG. Forgot about that for that quick of a second. How many of y'all on Clubhouse? I might go on Clubhouse and do what I do. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I might go talk some shit. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm saying, it's the feds. It definitely is the feds. That's why you gotta be very careful. Very careful. Not too much building. It's more of conversation. You got an Obama phone. Oh, no, you don't. So how you on here? And and Obama phone work fine. Oh, no. Is there a certain? No, everybody on Clubhouse, right? It doesn't matter what kind of phone you have. It's not like Cash App. Like Cash App, you gotta have an iPhone. I know that, but I don't think you have to have an iPhone to be on Clubhouse. Is that true or not? Oh, these new Obama phones is updated. Oh, y'all got social media on them shits now? Let me find out. Damn, I forgot I can't go live on IG no more. Oh, Facebook. Yeah, I could go to Facebook. How many, matter of fact, man, we could talk some shit, because on Facebook, I think it could be 4 of us on there, right? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm going to Facebook. I'm going to Facebook. I'd like to thank everybody who contributed tonight. Again, I got a whole bunch of clothes. Matter of fact, if anybody, because I get sick of it, and I'm only going to tell y'all because I deal with y'all. Anybody know a young girl or woman that's size 6 to 8? 6 to 8. And is in need of work clothes, right? Work clothes. DM me if they in BK. And I have some pieces that they could use. You know, somebody who got like a corporate setting, they in and out, they need to look good. You dig? Female, because this one here has a problem with, you know, I ain't gonna front. Real intelligent, committed, and all that, but bougie and high-end taste. And I can't keep throwing things out. So when I'm talking about high-end stuff, I mean high-end stuff, yo. Right? You see this, like this here? See this Michael Kors Michael Kors blouse, right? Michael Kors blouse, right? These official, all type of, you just Calvin Klein and all this hot, be trying to throw it out. So, can't do that. It's always, every year I go through this, every year. And just tossing it. And I'm like, yo, hold up. You're not going to keep doing that. You're not going to keep doing that. So, I need a young lady that, is in the corporate center. I don't know, may work in a bank or something. You know what I'm saying? May work in the bank or something. Nah, that stuff don't do that. Gotta be a 6 to an 8. Look. I'm not playing. I'm not playing. Look, all in Michael Kors, right? Trying to toss it. I mean, just toss it. Like, yo, just emptying it out, and it's that another bag. So, I used to be on what's that site? Facebook Marketplace. They don't move like that no more. I used to be on it earlier. Matter of fact, what's the name of that other one? One of them sites. One of them sites I sold my old car on it years ago. Y'all know that other site, man. Oh my goodness. Anyway, they don't move like that no more. It wasn't Poshmark. It was the other one. Yeah, I used to sell everything, electronics, all type of stuff on there. But offer up. That's it. Thank you, Dominique. Offer up. Now, Craigslist. Craigslist was, that's old school. Nah, offer up. That's what it was. I had an offer up account doing it. Offer up don't do that shit no more. You know? There was a vintage spot downtown on oh my goodness, what's the name of that? On not Bergen. Oh man. This spot was on Pacific. I think it was Pacific and Clausen. Yeah, all that shit slowed up. Pandemic, all that. Craigslist get you shot. Yo, I had a bad interaction on Craigslist with some Korean men. What I'm doing? Got a wife and daughters. And if you don't know, my whole base is women. Deal with women all day, every day. All day, every day. Look, I'm working. I'm business. I got anger management. I got domestic violence. I got all that. I don't have time to do all that. I'm telling y'all. Find a young woman who may be in need. I'm telling you that. Going to the bank, she could shimmy her little ass off like this. Hey. Plus shit. Should be good. Right? So let me know. And excuse me, we can make moves. And I'm telling you, this is like 15 grand, worth of stuff. Shit that she gonna shake her head. I'm telling you, you think I'm playing? Yo, high end, all high end. Shit is all over. And I'm like, yo, you wilding with that. Go through her little shoes. She be telling me, like, yo, hold up. $400, $500, $600 shoes, you just tossing. Like, you crazy? No. We're gonna stop that. So it's every year, for years and years, go through it. But this year is like, nah, put the brakes on that. You're gonna keep doing that shit. Someone to use it. And be fly in all of it. Dresses, all that. So yeah, look, I'm about to go to Facebook for a little while. Get it in. Alright? I'm glad y'all what you call it? Join me next week, same time, same flow. Right? Book Club, same flow. I'm going to Facebook. Join me for a little while. I ain't going to be on there that long. Already it's 105 minutes here. Facebook, I'm over here. Remember, y'all should come. Y'all ain't got no damn toys. You ain't got nothing else to do. Ain't nothing on TV. All the games is gone. Straight like that. So y'all need to come on up over and get it in. Then we can have a discussion about whatever y'all need to discuss. All right? So salute. You don't have social media. Well, that's where we going, Nick. I'm over there. I'm getting ready to boogie. I'm going over Facebook. You gonna catch the playback? All right. So salute. Peace and power.